I don't know if it's going to work or not because I got to walk away from the screen, so I don't know if it'll record it well or not. If not, I'll make it again because I don't imagine it'll take all that much time. But let's look back this way, and let's put the house over here, and we'll put the Senate over here. All right, start spitting out differences. What do you think?
2-year terms versus 6 years.
All right, so you got like the formal stuff. 2 years, 6 years, meaning, let's combine. That means they got what's that question? Schuster, Representative Schuster, he's got to worry about what the people want. So he's a what? Delegate. All right, so if you're trying to stay popular, you got to be a delegate. You're going to lose your job if you make your constituents mad. All right, he's more likely to be able to be a trustee. Trustee, trust me, I know best. All right, then once upon a time, certainly was not this, I try to not get bogged down in like a month of Congress. And I probably can't, let's see if I can draw this table right. All right, so let's say you've got, from the points I've got, the question is it important to the constituents up here? So I got yes and no. And is it important to the leader here? And I got yes and no. I think that makes sense, doesn't it? All right, so we can just be rational. Turn our leaders into economic man. Next door, if you talk about economic man always does what's in his self-interest. And you're assuming that this is an issue on which the leader and the constituents disagree. All right? So, if it's important to the constituents and the leader doesn't care that much, well, it's in his interest to be a what? Yeah, a delegate. He doesn't care. He disagrees with them. He thinks they're kind of stupid, but it doesn't, no big deal here. So he's going to do what they tell him to do, right? Generally speaking. All right. If it's important to him, it's his reason for being politically, and his district doesn't really give a crap about it, well, then he's going to be a what? Trustee. Okay. If it's close to election time, right, and it's important to him, and to him, it's important to both, he wants to keep his job, well, he's going to have to probably be a delegate. He's going to have to defer. All right, and if he defers, in other words, he's a trustee when he can be, and he's a delegate when he's got to be, that's going to make him, what's the word? I heard somebody say it. Political. All right, that's a political. All right, now one other thing. And we're gonna. I believe we got a question right here. What if they don't give a crap about it, and he doesn't give a crap about it? Well, what's he gonna do?
Nothing.
He's gonna go to somebody else in his party and say, this doesn't really mean much to me. I know this other thing that does mean a lot to me doesn't mean anything to you. So if you'll do this, I'll do this. If you'll vote my way on the issue that's mine, I'll vote your way on the issue that's yours. And that is called log rolling. All right, so a log roll over here. All right, or in other words, he'll rely on other factors, not his conscience, not what they want, what the party leadership tells him to do, or what other congressmen want him to do, what the media said. I mean, something else, because it doesn't make a big deal to him. All right, the log rolling is that question, I don't know, number 9. Yeah, that's number 9. All right, the log roll, the kind of trade votes. Okay, all right, back to my question. All right, more differences. Tell me about the leadership. Or, so I want operational differences more so than like the constitutional differences. Which one's got more rules?
House.
The House. All right. So let's write words. Rules That means the House is more formal. Can't just do your own thing. You got to follow the rules. There's a rules committee. You can't filibuster. There's time limits on the debate. You can't add riders. You know, there's more rules because there's 435 people, and leading 435 people is going to be like herding cats unless you got a lot of rules. All right, which means the speaker is strong. Strong speaker. Okay? Alright, anything else we should say about the House? Okay. There's a couple questions almost everybody missed. Macy missed it, and everybody else missed it, even though Macy was the only person in the class that answered the question when I asked it. Right? Given this, and I asked the question like last week, I think, tax bill is going to start where and why? You answered that question. Everybody went, what? You answered.
The Senate.
Starts in the House. Why are tax bills going to start in the House? Because the founders don't like taxes. You know, under the Articles of Confederation, the government couldn't tax. Now they're going to give this new power to this stronger government, but they're giving this power to the stronger government with fear and trembling. So they're going to give this power to start a tax bill to the House, because they better not do it too much or else they're going to lose their job. They got to be delegates. You know, if you gave that power to the Senate, well, they could go, hey, you're going to forget what I did 5 years from now anyway, so I'm going to tax the heck out of you in 5 years, swear up and down that I did do it. All right, now, there's a committee for that. And by the way, what do you call a permanent committee? Standing committee. So the standing committee, all right, on taxes is called the Ways and Means Committee. All right, so one thing we kind of want to look at, and there's not that much to it, but we want to look at particular committees, standing committees in the House and the Senate that kind of match the roles that the House and the Senate's play. All right, so the Ways and Means Committee. How are we going to pay for all this stuff? What's the ways? What's the means? That's the taxing committee, and any new tax plan, it has to start in the House. Senate will vote on it, and they've got something called a finance committee. But it starts over here with the Ways and Means Committee. All right, so that is a very important committee in the House. All right, and remember, hey, the House is like it's the cup where everything gets all heated up. People's branch represents the people, and the Senate is the saucer where everything cools down and it's more deliberative. All right, meaning if everything slows down here, more bills come out of the which one? House. You know, the House passes more bills. All right, the Senate passes less bills. Hey, they've got the filibuster over there. When you stand up and you talk and you talk and you talk. There was a question about that. The majority of folks got it right. The wording of the question, one, it didn't say stand up and talk and talk and talk. Can't remember the exact wording. All right, and you can only stop the talking with cloture. That's $60. And that's a Senate side of things, because the Senate is where bills go to kind of slow down or even die. All right, the Senate standing committees that are important. Foreign relations. Think about that, because the Senate's got to ratify what? Treaty. Foreign Relations Committee. All right. What fraction of senators have to vote to ratify a treaty? That's a 2/3. So the president, negotiates the treaty, but he brings it back home, and Wilson brought the Treaty of Versailles back home, and worked so hard, but he couldn't get the isolation of the Senate to ratify the Treaty of Versailles. So that's foreign relations. This next unit that we're going to start on today, the judicial branch, Judiciary Committee. And that's big time. Joe Biden used to be chairman of the Judiciary Committee. They're the ones that decide if somebody gets put on the Supreme Court or not. All right, any Supreme Court nominee's got to go through the Judiciary Committee. All right, So I mean, if you look at that, so tax stuff, you want the people to have their hands on this. Here, dealing with other countries, we want to be kind of sober about that, you know, because you want to stay out of war. And people are going to be on the court for forever. So, I mean, that's a really important thing. Hey, the Senate is called the upper house. You know, the adults are there. All right, and the House is the lower house. Okay. I think, at least on my first look on that table, I think I've kind of said what I want to say for the time being. All right, so everybody take one more minute. Check those questions, see if there's any. We'll see. See what other questions we got right there.
Every 6 years, you want to do
Okay, hey, time out. Let's do this one. And you might copy this down right quick. I think we did it maybe last semester. We did not do it during this unit. But we want to make sure we know. To be in the House of Representatives, the lower house, you got to be how old? 25. Alright. The Senate's a bigger deal, so you got to be how old? 30. Alright. And oh, by the way. Okay. President, 35. Alright. Trick question, the courts. Y'all are old enough to be on the court. President Trump nominates you to be on the Supreme Court. If the Senate Judiciary Committee passes you along, you can become a federal judge. Alright, so no specific qualification there. Okay, alright, hey, the House, we know this, what? 2, 6, alright, 4 times 2, 22nd Amendment, alright, for life, term of good behavior. Okay, one more set of criteria. Citizenship. Alright, in the House of Representatives, how long you gotta be a citizen? 7 years. Okay, Senate, 9 years. President, born. Natural born citizen. Alright. Okay, courts, nothing. You don't have to be a citizen. Alright, according, we'll read it. It might be that you could be an illegal immigrant and get put on the Supreme Court. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but I don't think there's anything in the Constitution that says anything about your citizenship. All right, granted, the Judiciary Committee wouldn't put you on there. All right, but I mean, there's just no qualifications for the courts. It's all in like a process. The president has to think you'd be a good nominee, and then the Senate has to agree. All right, okay. Given all that, let's take a look and see if there's anything else that we're missing. Number 1, all right, what are we going to say? In general, the Senate is less formal, has less rules. Ooh, what about the leader? Well, the Senate has what? Weaker leaders. You know, the Speaker of the House has more power because you got to herd the 435 people. Weaker leaders. All right, number 2, revenue bills are initiated by the what? House. All right. Okay, number 3. This one was kind of interesting. This was an interesting question. I ended up giving credit to 2 different answers. All right. 2 possible right answers. Okay, what do you think? Organization of the House and Senate closely tied to party. All right, think about that. Why did President Trump get impeached in the House? Because the Democrats control everything in the House. Any bill coming out of the House is going to be sponsored by a Democrat. Why did he get not convicted in the Senate because the Republicans are in charge of the Senate. Any bill coming out of the Senate is going to be introduced by the Republicans. The leadership, the speaker, the majority floor leader, majority whips, all from the majority parties. And so when you look at the leadership, it's all by party. The other thing, anybody else got an answer you felt okay about? Bureaucracy. So come over here, spin around, and I think I have something pulled up, and even if I don't, I can get it pulled up fairly quickly. No, I can't because the monster movie sound made me close a gajillion things out. So we'll go House and Senate committees. All right, and then we'll go to images. See what happens. Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's pretty good. Look at these standing committees right here. All right. Can y'all read that? Here, let me put it just kind of halfway. Copy image. Let's go to PowerPoint. Let's just put it on the very next slide. Then I'll change it later. All right. Boom. Then we'll make that big. Make it big. And we'll hit presentation maybe to come up. All right. When it comes up, there it is. Look at that. All right. Look right here. Standing committee in the House. Agriculture. Okay. Armed services. Education. Now, not budget, not appropriations, but those three. They're also what? Job wrenching. Let's keep going. Foreign affairs. Homeland security. Yeah, cabinet departments. All right, so matches up with the generally speaking with the cabinet and the bureaucracy. All right, remember the iron triangle at any committee. You're going to have the committee members. All right, you're going to have interest groups, and then you're also going to have like a cabinet department, maybe somebody in the bureaucracy. All right, so the committees match up pretty well because basically when you're passing law, you're telling the bureaucracy to do something. All right, so you want, the match, you want a pretty close match between the committees and the 15 cabinet departments. Okay, all right, okay, any other questions? I'm looking at y'all stuff. Does anybody have anything else on there that you haven't filled in an answer for?
All of the following are advantages of incumbency except.
Oh, look up there. All right, what do you think? Oh, let's go one by one by one. All right. Name recognition, is that an advantage of incumbency? Sure, that was our first one. Two, we had like franking and name recognition. The name, we played the Eddie Murphy video. All right, access to the media. Now, that was not on our list. But, hey, if you're running against Tom Braves, is he going to be in the paper more or are you going to be in the paper? Yeah, he is. I mean, he knows all these reporters. All these reporters know him. These guys get on TV and they get on the news and so forth. So, okay, easier fundraising. What is that? PAC money, right? The PACs give money to the incumbents regardless. Okay, the frank. I mean, that was our second name thing. All right, franking is free mail. Okay, what does that word mean? Publicly funded campaigns.
So like general election.
No, yeah, the government would pay for the campaigns. Well, no, that's not what happens. That's why. Fundraising is such an important thing. They've got to get money. That's why, it didn't work out for Bloomberg, but he has spent a whole lot more money than anybody else on his campaign because, hey, the government doesn't pay for the campaigns. All right, so that's not an advantage, because the government doesn't pay for campaigns. The government thought about paying for presidential elections for a little while, but they got so good at raising money, they could raise more money than the government could afford to give them. All right, so the government doesn't pay for campaigns. All these other things are. All right, qualifications. What are funds? Number 12, what are funds? Ooh, okay. Now, a lot of people miss this one. All right, there's two names for this. So you bring home what is it? Pork. All right, there's another name for pork. All right, on a bill, remember what you do on like a 100-page bill, if you say, okay, I'm going to give you my support in exchange for building a bridge in Gordon County, in exchange for adding a hospital wing in Gordon County, and I'm going to sneak this little part of this bill right here, and you'll know that this is the part so it's called an earmark. All right, so a few folks, by process of deduction, figured that one out. Other people pick like other animals, fowl, or something like that. Now, I always try to build in like screwed up question points on every test. I mean, if you wrote words for the discussion question, people could write like 4 or 5 words. They ended up getting 20 points right on the discussion question. On top of that, before I start counting points off, you get 2 free X's. There's 5 free points in case something goes wrong with the question. So I mean, I try to account for that. That's another word for poor. All right, but look here. Let's try to take a quiz on this tomorrow. All right. Is there any other question on this?
Yeah. It was 11, 2 years and 1/3.
Oh yeah, very good. All right. Yeah. Now listen. Think about that. All right. You had to do some thinking. All right. So and what's on the founder's mind this election year, 2020? How many representatives are up for re-election? Come on now. There's a very specific answer. How many representatives are up for re-election in 2020? 435 of them. Why? They all have 2-year terms. Every single election, midterm or presidential election, all 435 members of the House of Representatives are up for re-election. All right? In the Senate, in 2020, either 33 or 34 of them. All right, so it's staggered. All right, for the Senate. So every time here, the Senate elections are staggered. Why did the founder set it up that way? Or to rephrase, regardless of the merits of the case against him, why didn't Trump get convicted? Because the Republicans still had the Senate. Why did the Republicans still have the Senate? Because although Trump was unpopular in 2018, only 33 seats were up for election in 2018 because the founders said, okay, the House can go this way and that, whichever way the political winds are blowing. But we don't really trust the people. So we're going to give the people only 1/3 impact over the Senate any particular election. All right, so only 1/3 of them are up for re-election in any 2-year, any election. Now, 1 year, to get to 100, it's going to be 34. All right, so there's a reason that the Democrats are in charge of the House and the Republicans are still in charge of the Senate. All right, you had a typically unpopular president at the midterm elections in 2018. In other words, the Republicans lost something like 33 seats and in the House, and the average for an incumbent is something like 31 seats. So, I mean, just slightly above average. Whereas, like in the first year for Obama, it was something like 70 seats. All right, but if the incumbent is not all that popular, it's not going to impact the Senate as much because, I mean, look at that. 30, that's less than 10% of the seats. For all the talk. That is what? That's about 8%. That's 92% re-election rate. All right, so 10%, that'd be 3. That'd be 3 senators losing their job. So 8%, that might be 2 senators losing their job. So much less of a change in the Senate than the House, and that's the way the founders intended it. They wanted the people to have their say, but if the people are going to have their way, it's got to be a big-time thing. Now, 2 or 3 seats can be a big deal because it's a fairly even split, like it's 52-48 or something like that. So if 3 seats change, it goes from to 49-51. So a few seats can make a big difference. If it had, flipped to the Republicans, well, we still wouldn't be talking about conviction because you had to have 67. But, you'd have more Democratic bills coming out of the Congress. But the Senate is in there to have this upper house to limit the impact of political trends. People are going to get fired up. The Senate is there to kind of slow things down. All right, so that, that's it's a good thing to know. Dr. McKenzie, you should have spent way more time with that because you spent exactly 0 time with that. You're right, I should. All right, let's make it right. Let's take a little quiz. We all had 100. The entire class had a 100 average going into the test. Too easy, too hard. We'll find the mean in a minute. All right, okay, and exactly 0 people went from an A to a B as a result of this test. Nobody lost the letter grade on the test. All right, but hey, let's study this for next time. Any other questions? All right, hey, flip it over. Let's make sure. I will ask you at random 5 of these questions. All right, hey, what do you call permanent committees? Standing committees. All right, Schuster does what he's told to do by his constituents. He's a what? Delegate. All right, tell me something that is not an advantage of incumbency. Every how many years? Every 2 years, what fraction of the Senate's up for re-election? 1/3. All right, tell me 2 names for stuff you bring home to your district. 4 earmarks. Okay. All right. Let's see if I can make this thing. I don't know if it works or not. What I want you to do while I'm doing this. Tell each other everything you know about the courts. All right, I'm going to start with the courts here in just a second. All right.